Henry VIII is remembered for his brutality and the fact he executed two of his wives inside of the infamous Tower of London. Anne Boleyn's execution was incredibly different to the execution of his fifth wife, Catherine Howard. Even the weapon of choice for the executioner was very different, and Catherine Howard today is considered a very tragic teenage victim of the horrific King of England. She was condemned for allegedly a liaison and affair with one of the king's closest, and the fact she had already been physical with a man, which was against the expectations of a king's wife during the 16th century. But the story of what happened to Catherine Howard's body after her date with the executioner was incredibly dark, especially how Henry VIII treated her remains, which still today, 500 years on, have not been found. Today we look at how Henry VIII dissolved his fifth wife off of the face of the earth. And to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Catherine Howard married King Henry VIII on the 28th of July 1540. She was roughly 15 to 17 years old when she married the 49-year-old, large, grotesque and unpredictable Tudor monarch. Catherine Howard's early life has been shrouded in controversy, especially with her relations with a number of men who most probably took advantage of the young girl. It was her uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, who had found her a place at court, and she quickly caught the attention of many men, including the king. She also attracted the attention of Thomas Culpeper, one of the king's courtiers, and Henry found Catherine was very attractive, and they did in public flirt. It was following the clearing up of the mess with Henry's fourth wife, Anne of Cleves, that Catherine Howard and the king would marry. Henry had expressed interest in her for some time, and the Duke of Norfolk, Thomas Howard, sought to move in and sweep further power by marrying his niece to the king. He wanted to be as powerful as the Boleyn family once were, but the king's interest in Catherine Howard grew massively, and her youthful looks and personality captivated the middle-aged Henry, who wanted a younger woman, and he claimed that he'd never known the like to any woman about Catherine, and he would shower her in gifts and land. Henry described her as the very jewel of womanhood. Catherine was not fit to become a queen consort and someone who would provide counsel to Henry VIII, as she was too young and she was naive, and she would actually never be coronated as a queen. She received a gun salute as a queen, and she must have enjoyed playing queen, as she was given lavish clothes covered in jewels, and in the August of 1540, she left London whilst the court went on progress to escape the plague in the capital. But Catherine was the opposite of her husband. He experienced very bad moods and was enraged a lot, being driven mad by the pain in his ulcerous legs. She was young and carefree, and she was involved in a liaison, or at least an emotional affair, with the king's favourite male courtier, the aforementioned Thomas Culpeper. It was said that Culpeper had succeeded the king in the queen's affections. The pair met in secret, and these liaisons were organised by Jane Boleyn, Lady Rochford, and when rumours about the affair emerged, investigations took place and the Archbishop of Canterbury found compelling evidence, including a love letter written by the Queen to Culpeper. In this she professed her love to him. But on the 1st of November 1541, the king, whilst praying in the chapel royal at Hampton Court, was told of his wife's indiscretions, and with this, Catherine Howard's downfall came. She was locked in her room, and it was said of her that, "I found her in such lamentation and heaviness as I never saw no creature, so it would have pitied any man's heart to have looked upon her. She was completely distraught, and there was a fear that she would take her own life." Things moved rather quickly, and on the 23rd of November 1541, Catherine Howard was stripped of her title as queen, and she was imprisoned inside of a convent. She would never see her husband the king again, but the marriage was actually never formally annulled. Thomas Culpeper and another man, Francis Derham, who had allegedly had physical relations with Catherine before her marriage, were quickly tried and condemned. Culpeper was beheaded by axe, and Derham was hanged, drawn, and quartered. Their heads were placed upon London Bridge, and as Catherine Howard was taken to the Tower of London, as her imprisonment became more severe, she allegedly passed under the heads of her former lovers, causing the former queen a breakdown. An act of attainder was passed against her, meaning no trial was needed for her to be executed, and her execution was scheduled for 7 a.m. on the 13th of February 1542, as she had been condemned as a traitor. Her execution arrangements were overseen by Sir John Cage, the Constable of the Tower, and the night before her execution, Catherine spent many hours pretending to lay her head upon the block so that she could practice the best way of placing it, to allow the executioner to strike her head off quickly and in one swift blow. It's claimed that on the morning of her execution that Catherine was laid back and calm, and that she went to her execution with grace. She believed her punishment was worthy and just, and she asked the witnesses inside the tower, close to Tower Green, to pray for her. The executioner was using an axe for this execution, unlike the man who took Anne Boleyn's head, who used a sword. The axe was considered the rougher and less reliable weapon. Things were more likely to go wrong, but this did not happen this time, as the skilled executioner crashed the axe upon Catherine Howard's neck with such poise and power that the fifth wife of Henry VIII's head was struck off in one blow. After this, her head was taken into the nearby chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula, the Tower of London's little church where previously Anne Boleyn had also been buried. Catherine's body was not placed inside of a coffin. It was just collected in a shroud, a rather thin piece of material, and it was then buried in, allegedly, a roughly dug grave inside the Tower of London's chapel. There is a memorial stone that sits close to the altar today, dedicated to Catherine Howard, and containing her coat of arms, but the reality of this is that there is no evidence that Catherine's remains and body have ever been found, and this is due to the behaviour of the men who buried Catherine upon the king's orders. Henry VIII had instructed that Catherine Howard's remains should be buried covered in a thick layer of quicklime, or lime. This material was used to make her remains and body decompose quicker and rot quickly, leading to them being dissolved off of the face of the earth. Using quicklime was done commonly over the years as a method of making people's remains quickly decompose, especially those who were plague victims. The reason Henry VIII ordered this to be used may have been down to the shame and the regret that he had with marrying Catherine Howard, and he also may have felt embarrassed by the fact he had been cuckolded or usurped in his wife's affections by one of his closest friends. The use of quicklime is mostly considered definitive with Catherine's body. Also, in the 19th century during Queen Victoria's reign, work was done inside the chapel to the floor, and the remains of many people who were executed inside of the tower and also on Tower Hill were found. The remains and corpse of Anne Boleyn were found, and it was confirmed that she had lost her head by a blow of a sharp weapon. However, there was an intense search for Catherine Howard's remains, and the archaeologists looked for the teenage queen. There was nothing found. The remains of Jane Boleyn were discovered inside the chapel, and she was executed immediately after Catherine Howard, but nothing could be found for Catherine. This leads to the conclusion that the instructions to use quicklime were carried out upon the remains of the former queen. But there is also another problem. As Catherine Howard was so young when she was executed and then buried, and the quicklime dumped on her remains before the earth, then as her bones had not fully hardened, this could have meant that they rotted quicker and decomposed quicker. So, inside of the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula, there are the remains of many of the executed people of the Tower of London and Tower Hill, including Anne Boleyn, Margaret Pole, Thomas Cromwell and Sir Thomas More, but Catherine Howard's remains have never been found, most probably due to the quicklime thrown on her, but Henry VIII did achieve his goal of dissolving Catherine off the face of the earth, putting his 5th marriage behind him, and also preventing her remains from ever being found. Thank you for watching, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. And again, thank you so much for watching.